بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم
اللہ اکبر اللہ اکبر اللہ اکبر اللہ اکبر اشہد ان لا الہ الا اللہ اشہد ان لا الہ الا اللہ اشہد ان محمد رسول اللہ اشہد ان محمد رسول اللہ حی علی الصلاۃ حی علی الصلاۃ حی علی الفلاح حی علی الفلاح اللہ اکبر اللہ اکبر لا الہ الا اللہ
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يسألونك عن الخمر والميسر قل فيهما إثم كبير ومنافع للناس وإثمهما أكبر من نفعهما ويسألونك ماذا ينفقون قل العفو كذلك يبين الله لكم الآيات لعلكم تتفكرون. They ask you about intoxicants and games of chance, saying both of them there is great sin and some advantage for people, but their sin is greater than their advantage. And they ask you as to what they should spend, say what you can spare. Thus does Allah make clear to you the messages that you may ponder. This was chapter 2, verse 219. The next one is chapter 5, verse 88. وَكُلُوا مِمَّا رَزَقَكُمُ اللَّهُ حَلَالًا طَيِّبًا وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ الَّذِي أَنْتُمْ بِهِ مُؤْمِنُونَ. And eat of the lawful and good things that Allah has given you, and keep your duty to Allah in whom you believe. and chapter 5, verse 90. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu innamal khamru wal maisiru wal ansabu wal azlamu rijsum min amali shaitani fajtanibuhu la'allakum tuflihun. O you who believe, intoxicants and games of chance and sacrificing to stones set up and dividing by arrows are only an uncleanness, the devil's work. So shun it that you may succeed. And I'll just read the translation of the next verse. The devil desires only to create enmity and hatred among you by means of intoxicants and games of chance, and to keep you back from the remembrance of Allah and from prayer. Will you then keep back? And chapter 16, verse 67. وَمِن ثَمَرَاتِ النَّخِيلِ وَالْأَعْنَابِ تَتَّخِذُونَ مِنْهُ سَكَرًا وَرِزْقًا حَسَنًا إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَةً لِقَوْمٍ يَعْقِلُونَ. And of the fruits of the palms and grapes you obtain from them intoxicants and goodly provision. There is surely a sign in this for a people who ponder. Sadaqallahu al-aliyyul azim. I have recited these verses and I've given this khutbah the title Bans by the UK Government. And but before that, I just want to say one word about the word used for wine is khamar. And in fact, it means everything, one thing that covers another, something that you use to cover or hide something else. For example, in chapter 24, verse 31, the same word is used for the head covering of the women. So al-khamru is actually that. But that is not the topic for today. And you see, one objection about Islam that people have is that, oh, look, Islamic prohibition, Islam prohibits certain things, and by prohibiting alcohol and gambling, etc., it's restricting the freedom of choice. And we are told individuals should be allowed to decide for themselves what to do, what to eat, what to drink, and so on. But then nothing is said about things which are prohibited all over the Western world. In United Kingdom, on the European Union, United States, Canada, and so on. And their list is a very long one. And I'm going to, it's reminds me of what Jesus said in Matthew chapter 7, verse 3. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the beam in your own eye? He said this because people were objecting to what others did while doing much worse things. But I want to look at some bans, as I said, various bans placed on some actions, etc., by the UK government. And legislation to restrict the so-called freedom of action started with the Merchandise Mark Act of 1862. So this is how far back it goes. In 1892, further restrictions were placed on advertising when the Carbolic Smoke Ball Company was sued by Emily Carlyle, and it was established that advertising had to be truthful about although some statements may be mere puffs. And that is, you can exaggerate a little bit. This was about people advertising balls, and the smoke came out of those balls, and it cured everything. It cured your acne, it cured your cancer, it cured your tuberculosis, and so on. And it did nothing to this lady. So she went to court, and eventually the courts decided, and it banned advertisements which were untruthful. In 1893, the Sale of Goods Act allowed placing restrictions on descriptions of goods. And I won't bore you because it's becoming like a history of legislation khutbah. So I'll lead forward many years. That in 1962, restrictions were put on how smoking could be advertised. Why? You're objecting to Islam, saying people should be free to choose and so on. So why are you restricting advertising? In 1963, restrictions were placed on how betting or gambling could be advertised. And in 1970s, there were many more restrictions on these things. For example, in 1973, cigarette advertising on radio was banned. And let's skip forward about 30 years. 2005, Scotland banned smoking in public. 2006, Health Act passed in UK, which increased the age at which people could buy smoke-related products from 16 to 18. 2007, all enclosed workplaces and public places in the UK became smoke-free. 2015, the Health Act was updated and smoking in private vehicles, in actually work vehicles, it was already banned, but in private cars, smoking was banned if there was more than one passenger under the age of 18. 2016, plain packaging of tobacco products was mandated. Further advertising, smoking, and sponsorship of sports has been banned. And we can carry on. In 1965, British government banned TV advertising of cigarettes. 2002, Tobacco Advertising and Promotion Act was passed, which banned tobacco advertising in a number of ways, including many things which I won't read out now. 2003, general advertising was banned on 14th of February. 2004, large adverts in shops, pubs, and clubs were banned on December 21st. 2005, sponsorship of global events, which I've already mentioned, including Formula One and snooker tournaments, was banned. Point of sale displays were banned. 2022, a 9 p.m. TV watershed for such products was put in place. So you couldn't advertise these things before 9 p.m. What are called watershed. Now, you'd say, well, you're going on and on about smoking. So, this is bad for you and causes cancer and so on and so forth. But we've got such bans on drugs claiming to cure all manner of diseases, as we saw in the case Carbolic Smoke Ball Company. Restrictions were placed. They were actually banned. You couldn't advertise. If you go to America, you can see drugs being advertised on television. In UK, that is banned. Slimming products were banned because they made exaggerated claims which were untrue, and some were actually harmful. And it was leading girls to psychological problems and some illnesses and so on. Online gambling advertising was banned and so on. And then, so you'll say, well, you can't have complete freedom because people have to be guided and told what is right and what is wrong. And some things seem enticing, such as tobacco and alcohol and gambling and so on. But as the Holy Quran says, their harm is much greater than any good that they may do. I'm not saying that we actually favor a free for all, that anyone should be able to advertise and so on. But the point is, when Islam prohibits drinking and gambling, all manner of objections are raised against Islam. To say that, it is restricting people, it's restricting freedom of choice, people should be able to decide, etc., etc. So why support these bans? You see, let me give you an example. A businessman sets out to make money. That's his only objective. He doesn't care about your health or anything else. When I was at university, I knew of people who were being paid by the tobacco industry to conduct research to show that smoking was good for you. Some people were actually doing research to show that smoking, rather than causing asthma, actually cures it. It clears your lungs, you were told. And the Holy Quran and Muslims believe that people have unequal power. The man in the street has very little power. He's subjected to all manner of advertising and incitements and inducements and so on, by TV advertising, by newspaper advertising, by radio advertising, and so on. The list is a long one. If you go out now, you will see that cigarettes are not advertised on billboards, etc. So people who do this to exploit others have to be controlled. And those whom they're trying to exploit have to be told that this is bad for you. Don't do this. Unless you provide this guidance, how will people learn and how will people know? If you're just trying to make people happy, then you should ban all homework in schools. Kids hate it. I know they hate it. I hated it. Everyone in my class hated it. We love the teachers who didn't give any homework. So let's ban that because it makes people happy. Let's not force them to do the homework. But we're told it's good for you. It encourages you. It reinforces what you've learned. It encourages you to work on your own, to sort out problems, and so on. If you look at cigarette advertising in sort of 40s, 50s, 60s, it was smoking was made to look very romantic and glamorous and so. In fact, I forgot to mention this, that the first ban that was placed on smoking advertising was that it must not be made to look romantic and glamorous, because that was the first thing that was done. So what you need is a dispassionate institution to decide what is good for people. So that institution acts as a barrier for the powerful so that they don't and they can't exploit the weaker sections of society. And you would think that is the parliament or the Congress or the Senate. Well, unfortunately, I'm sad to say that that is not the case. They're not independent and dispassionate institutions. We have vested interests who buy their votes by various means. You know, if you say to a member of parliament, we are going to give you £500,000 a year for attending 3 meetings of the board of directors of some tobacco manufacturer, is that MP going to oppose banning smoking, or is he going to support it? What is he going to do? Does he want to lose £500,000 a year? And we know that these are vested interest groups in America and Congress and Senate and so on. There's the American gun lobby, because they spend so much money in funding election campaigns and so on of politicians, no one dares speak against them. There's only one being who's dispassionate and who cares about your welfare and who doesn't get any benefit out of caring for your welfare. And that is God. That is Allah. What benefit does Allah get if I don't smoke? On this earth, government bans smoking because it costs them more to treat such people in hospitals. It costs the economy more because those people take time off sick. It costs the government more because these people have to be given paid sick leave. So the government calculates that they get more financial benefit from banning smoking than allowing it. But what benefit does God get if you don't smoke, or if you don't drink, or if you don't gamble? This is solely for your own benefit. And it's interesting, if you're going to ban advertising, etc., of, for example, online gambling and drinking and so on, and you're not allowed to advertise them before 9 o'clock, and you're not allowed to advertise them on billboards and all this kind of thing. Doesn't it beg the question, why do you allow these things in the first place? So first you are allowing these things, and then you're restricting their advertisements. Would it be easier simply to ban them? Barakallahu lana, barakallahu lana walakum fil Qur'anil Azim wa nafa'ana wa iyyakum bil ayati wa zikril hakim innahu ta'ala jawadun karimun malikun barrufur rahim. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlil fala hadiya lahu. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم انصر من نصر دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم واجعلنا منهم واخذل من خذل دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ولا تجعلنا منهم. عباد الله رحمكم الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. In your prayers, please pray for the whole of humanity, that Allah may relieve the difficulties and problems of all human beings, whoever they are and wherever they may be. But particularly pray for our Palestinians, our Palestinian brothers and sisters who are undergoing a terrible genocide these days. And the rest of the world, including the Muslim world, is standing on the sidelines and watching as if it's a football match. And no one is doing anything to help them. So pray to Allah that He may help them and relieve their distress. And pray for their persecutors, that Allah may give them the sense to see what they are doing is wrong. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, Hayya ala salah, Hayya ala falah, Qad qamatis salat, Qad qamatis salah. Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahmanir Rahim, مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده
ربنا
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده
ربنا
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر السلام عليكم ورحمة الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله أستغفر الله كل ذنبي وأتوب اللهم إنك السلام إنك السلام تبارك I ended the khutbah, but I forgot what inspired to tell you what inspired that khutbah. That was the announcement this morning by the British government on placing restrictions on advertising of junk food because they're afraid that kids are eating this junk food rather than healthy food and becoming overweight, which is causing problems now, but it will lead to much greater problems later on in life. So they've put restrictions and bans on where junk food can be advertised. So I thought I'll just mention that. With that, I take my leave of you with the prayer that may Allah keep the whole humanity safe and sound from and free from harm. And until we meet again next Friday, Assalamu alaikum, Khuda Hafiz, and goodbye.